Many of you ask every week, what are you all doing? Well, one of the things that PUSH does, particularly on this broadcast, is to try to share information, give you some analysis of some of the issues that you may hear about, see you watching in the news media, looking at social media. For example, the United States Supreme Court every year, every term, issues cases that they're going to hear. There are several cases that we're concerned about that will be before the U.S. Supreme Court. They agreed, they announced on Monday that on December 1st, they're going to hear a case that will have great impact on the historic Roe versus Wade abortion decision. It is a case that arose in Mississippi, and it's based on a Mississippi law that bans all abortions after the 15th week of pregnancy. This will have far-reaching impact on a woman's right to choose. So we're going to be watching what happens in that case. And remember, Supreme Court judges, justices, are people. They're political appointees. They're not just some great legal scholars. And so they have a political ideology, those that sit on the court. And the court now is turning to be more conservative and less liberal. They're going to hear oral arguments on December 1st on the abortion case. Before they make a decision, they let both sides present oral arguments so they can hear why one side or the other should be supported. They're also going to hear a case involving public funding for education, whether or not state dollars can be used to fund religious instruction. That's a major issue because in many states across the country, we have a significant number of poor children whose resources are now being stretched based on several factors: cuts in income, cuts in grants from the feds, and now you're going to have this whole issue of using public dollars for private purposes. They're going to hear a case where a religious school is seeking to have some of the state dollars allocated to them and allow them to teach religious instruction and allow students to use those, what we call vouchers, for private education. And so that's the question. Do you want your tax dollars to be shared and given to those parents who decide they don't want their children in public school, they want them to go to private schools? That's a major issue, public versus private education. If that continues to happen and the Supreme Court rules in favor of that private school that is providing religious instruction, it could cost a lot of children in school districts across the country adequately funded, high-quality public education. And so that's the challenge. Do you want a system in America where every child does not get a high-quality public education, but those whose parents can pay, or those whose parents are able to put them in private schools and use public dollars for it, and then the rest of them, oh well? That's the issue. And the Supreme Court has decided, well, why is all this stuff about the court important? Well, the American system is based on balance of power. You have the judicial branch. It interprets legislation and says how the law should be applied. You have the legislative branch that makes laws. And unless someone challenges the law, that law remains on the books. And then you have the executive branch that enforces the law. Here we have the judicial branch looking at some legislation, one in Mississippi, one in Maine, that will impact the state laws in those states. Do we want to lose control of public education funding? This has been an ongoing debate, and now in light of the pandemic, in light of the increased levels of poverty, what will that mean to poor children? That's what I'm asking you. Call me if you want to talk back to me. Tell me what you think. Educators, I need to hear from you. We want to know, how do you feel about this? On the abortion case, women's organizations are quite upset. They will be marching and demonstrating at the United States Supreme Court on October 2nd. Janice Mathis, Executive Director of the National Council of Negro Women, is leading a body of women's organizations to demonstrate at the Supreme Court. We're saying women have a right to choose. Women have a right to choose. It's our bodies, it's our opportunity to make a decision about them, because at the end of the day, we're the ones that can bear children. And so The third thing we want to talk about is this border crisis. We want to make sure that however we decide to deal with people who come to America for asylum, who seek America for health care and support, it's not the fact that the people come, it is how do we treat the least of these. That's why we measure our faith. It's what do we do to those who come seeking help from us? Do we simply turn our backs on them? Do we ride horses and whip them back across the border? Or do we make an assessment of what their needs are, what we can provide? Do we call on all of our allies to say, what do we owe Haiti? What has Haiti done for the world that will cause the world to look back on Haiti and say, we owe you for all the things that you've produced and you've not been able to benefit financially. When we think of Riceland's rice as an example, when we think of orchids, we must remember Haiti. So let us not forget Haiti and what Haiti has done for the world. We are calling on the global community to respond in this humanitarian crisis. Let us give back to Haiti what Haiti has given so much to the rest of us without any benefit to Haiti. Now, I understand that in some cities and states, based on this Delta variant, many schools are going back to remote learning. We want to let you know that Push Excel is planning to launch a virtual homework hotline to make sure our students are engaged in learning. We want to help schools. If you have some questions or suggestions, we're calling on retired teachers. You don't have to do absolutely nothing. Call us if you're willing to volunteer with Push Excel. We need you and become a part of our Saturday school program.